4 in Shurugwe. Not because that's where I come from. That's where I was born. My mom is from Mashingo. My dad from Mashonaland East in Hwedza. So it happened this way. I wasn't the witness to that. Of course, it's second-hand information from my parents. They happened to be traveling from Mashingo, Kwachi, on their way to Bulawayo, which is where my dad has worked all his life and lives there. My time was up when we got to Shurugi town, so my mom had to be admitted, that's where I was born. So I was born in transit, so I'm a mover. I like I like moving, grew up in Bulawayo, grew up in Hwedza as well, because my mom then became a teacher at a school called St. Margaret's, Chigondo in Hwedza. So I lived with my mom as well as my grandparents, that was an experience in that I was exposed to that rural setting, as well as the culturally vibrant Bulawayo setting. I am Shona, I am Debele, in the sense that, I've lived most of my life in Bulawayo, and did all my schooling there, made many friends, and Bulawayo just gave me an experience and a different dimension into the art that I do. Not just music, but I'm talking of developing my artistic talents from a young age, because what used to happen is when my mom was a teacher at St. Margaret's, during the school term we in Hwedza, and holidays were in Bulawayo where my dad was. So that was the movement really from one place to the other. So I then was transferred to Bulawayo from Hwedza in 1984. That's where I was in grade 4, and I did my second term of grade 4 in Bulawayo at a school called Ubilo Primary. My folks had moved from Mpopoma, the place I loved so much, because that's the place that's where my childhood memories, besides those in my rural home, were the soccer, playing in the streets, just the vibrant nature of the streets of the ghetto, and being able to go and watch films at the community halls and all that stuff. So those were exciting times. And then now I was moved to a low density suburb, had to make new friends, get used to a different kind of life. Went to a school called Ubidl, difficult to even pronounce for a rural and ghetto boy. And then from there, that's my young life really, up to grade 7. Grade 6 is when my music talent started shining through. But prior to that, I think I would have been a great footballer. I enjoyed playing soccer, and I was good at it. I just enjoyed all forms of sport. I remember because I didn't have the confidence to compete with people that I perceived superior than I was. When I started going to Ubedo, I never attended any sporting activity that particular, a few weeks after joining the school. And I didn't know it would be such a big crime that would land me in the deputy headmaster's office. And the deputy headmaster's office was that of Mr. Montgomery. Even that name was so scary. What it meant is I had to go and answer in English. Language I was so good at then. And I got my first warning for not attending sports. So that very afternoon, I had to make sure. And to my surprise, I became an instant hit because I was generally good at athletics and football and whatever, all the other disciplines that we used to participate in then. So yeah, in grade 5, we used to play soccer and all the other sports, athletics and everything. Grade 6, we formed a 5-boy band. I don't know if I can remember the names, with the Dimas Vanda, Lazarus Mshangwe, Clarence Vanda, so Ali and me. So we just used to come up with songs and nothing serious really, and we'd just get together and I don't know whether you'd call it singing, but just play around with whatever lyrics or whatever ideas we came up with. Then that became exciting for some of the students who had us doing all this stuff. And then it also got to our class teacher, Mr. Malaba then. And after class he would ask us to perform in front of the class. I mean after the lessons were done, before going home. And yeah, we became more confident in what we were doing. That was, I would like to think, the beginning of what triggered my music career. Grade 7 was another different story. Of course, I got separated from my guys because I was now in a different class. And they were, and plus we had to also focus on exams. But the idea still carried on when I went to Form 1. I went to a high school called Northlea High. I found new friends who were just as creative, and we carried on with the new group. But of course, Northlea had a Marimba band, and I so wanted to join that Marimba band, but it was so overwhelmed because everyone wanted to join the then prestigious Northlea Marimba band, because being in the Marimba band meant a lot. Lots of traveling, lots of food. When you travel, you know you're gonna have food when you perform at corporate functions and stuff like that. So it was quite prestigious, and Northlea High School happens to be one of the early schools to have a marimba set from Kunonga. So that set was still there, I think in 1974. So there was a heritage about the marimba, Northlea itself, and Kunonga. So if you had to be in the band, you were literally carrying through the heritage. And how we used to do that is by obviously teaching the new students, who would then teach other students that come and join the band. And it was like that. There was never a teacher who would be in charge except ceremonially, to just make sure you guys are coming for rehearsals and stuff like that. So I didn't manage to join in Form 1 because the queue was so long. It was unbelievably long, and I was nowhere near the first 100 students or 200 students who wanted to join the band. So the auditions had to be cut off before my turn. So I was sad for a year. I would go and watch my fellow Form 1s who'd made it. Every afternoon I would go there and fold my hands and watch these guys and wish, I was a part of the team, So I would literally spend afternoons when the bands were rehearsing, because there was a junior band, there was a beginner's band actually, which consisted of the Form 1s, the junior band, and then the senior band. So, that those were the grades. So you would graduate from the junior band, from the beginner's band to the junior band, then to the senior band. So, I had a miserable first year because I just couldn't be part of the band. And in Form 2, there were now auditions for the beginners, the Form 1s who had come through. And that also allowed the Form 2 students to be part of the auditions. And I was a little bit wiser and more clever at this time, in that I had to leave the class early by asking to go to the toilet before it was time, because auditions would start at 1:30, but the queue by the time 1:30 was up, the queue would be so long you would not even get you might not even get a chance to be auditioned. So I was fortunate. I happened to be amongst the first 20 students who were already in the queue waiting for to be auditioned. So I was auditioned and fortunately accepted into the beginners band. Very excited, but because I was so enthusiastic and so passionate about being in the marimba band and playing marimba, my development was very fast. The flow at home, I grew up in Sauerstown. After we moved from Mpopoma, I went to stay in Sauerstown. The floor had wooden tiles. There's the finer ones like these ones we've got here. Then there's the larger blocks. I would literally pull out those larger blocks and arrange them like a marimba set, and write all the notes there and start playing that, even though there was no sound. So I would just follow the notation that I was seeing at rehearsal, and so every day that was my life. I would go home excited and put up my own set, and obviously return the tiles back before the folks saw that. So yeah, my development was quite fast. And in that year, I graduated into the junior band. And I mean, that was very exciting for me, obviously. So in Form 2, I was in the junior band, and usually the junior band, you'd have to be in Form 3, unless you're exceptionally good. So for Form 2, I was in the junior band, of course in Form 3. By the time I was in Form 4, I was being invited by the senior band for some of their trips. So, the band would usually play at the all-night shopping sessions at the Mikkels in Bulawayo. And that was always exciting, obviously, performing for shoppers and late night shoppers, and it would also be a nice exhibit, of the band. So that's the senior band started calling me for some of those. And I obviously used that opportunity to make sure that it's not just being called once, but I wanted to be in the senior band before my time. So yeah, fortunately, I became a regular in the senior band before I was even lower and upper six. So yeah, to me, that was exciting. So by the time I was in lower six, I remember I somehow was made the captain. So I was captain for 2 years, lower and upper six. So that's the beginning of my musical career, really. That's the most confusing time of a young man or woman's life, because you wait for your results and you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know whether you are going to university or you are finding a job or whatever comes, So for a couple of months, we waited for our results, and when the results came out, a friend of mine, I didn't accumulate enough points to take me to university. I had 5 points, and I was contemplating repeating and all that stuff, but I kept saying to myself, okay, I would like to go to university, but which university offers art? And there just wasn't any. And it became difficult for me to pursue my passion beyond just high school, because I was so confused. I wanted to do art and I wanted to be a graduate at it. That was before I discovered the Polytechnic, of course. But I then worked for a photographic company, photography processing, called Photoin, for about a year. And through that, I began to experience that missing artistic experience, because to me photography was very artistically oriented, or it is basically. So just understanding how to shoot photographs and how to process them as well, that whole cycle was quite exciting for me. But still, I still felt the urge to to explore my artistic talents. So after a year, I had to make a huge decision because as a young man, 14 was quite comfortable for a young man, but also you've got to think about your future and what else beyond being in that environment. So I then went for the recruitment interview at the Bulawayo Polytechnic art school, and made it, and I started going to art school to pursue basic design, which is like the first year of art school, and then obviously you then specialize in whatever discipline you'd like to pursue. In this case, we had textile design. In fact, we had three: fashion design, textile, and commercial design, which was the advertising and graphic side of things. So I opted for advertising and graphics because I was good at that kind of thing. So yeah, for 3 years we ground our own, and fortunately life then was a lot better than it is now, in the sense that when I started college, when I went into art school, art school is an expensive school in the sense that it's materially oriented. You are always buying materials to use. You are buying your pens, your pencils, different, not just pencils, different types of pencils. You are buying your paint brushes, and those things are expensive. The paints that you use, I remember a set of gouache that was very expensive paint, and it was a requirement. And mind you, you use this stuff, it gets finished, and you have to keep buying, and so it's different to buying a book, because you buy a book, you look after it, you know, for the next 3-4 years during college years you are using that book. But at school, you've got to be buying materials. They run out, you buy some more. So it was quite expensive. But fortunately, that very year is the year the government started giving out student grants. And I was a happy recipient of that. So it made the burden lighter, because from that grant they would deduct your school fees, and then the rest we would then use to buy material and whatever else we needed to get our course through. So yeah, fortunately, for the next 3 years, or was it 4? That is how things went. Then after college, another confusing time, because we were in an environment that was not that potent in terms of advertising and design companies. Well, there were some companies, but Bulawayo then didn't have that many advertising agencies to speak about. So I was forced to move to Harare to find a job, and fortunately I did find one at an advertising company called Brown and Kinlock. So that's where my design journey began, and my advertising experience. Also began. And with that comes new ideas, and with that you begin to understand the dimension of the world in terms of communication. You begin to want to explore more, but obviously budgets are always restrictive. But it was a great experience. I think I was at Brown and Kinloch for about 3 or so years, if I'm not mistaken. And then I moved on into the tobacco industry as a designer as well as a marketer for an independent manufacturing company. So I was there for a couple of years as well. That is when I was able to actually start recording my first album, because I had a little radio that could record on cassette. So after work I would spend the evening at home recording on that little radio. Then I would come play the cassettes at work at Brown and Kinloch then. And it seemed to make sense to my colleagues, because they were like, but you know, this actually sounds good. Muchaneta,